chat room because a lot of the other 44 platforms don't give us a chat room. So, and please subscribe. That'll help us a lot. And the super chat is open. So if you want to help us out there too, that is wonderful. It feels like Christmas in January this time. So one more thing I want to mention, and that is that about 3.5 years ago, Nori and I put together a spiritual think tank. And we do incredible things over there. It seems like we are creating out of seemingly nothing sometimes. Things comes out of the unified field, out of the universal consciousness, and materialize. So if you want to see something that is really interesting, and if you want to be part of something that is bigger than yourself, come and visit. Send us an email to themastermindconnection@gmail.com. I'll get the email and we'll send you a link and some information back, and then you can come and visit and see if this is something that you want to check out further. I think you're going to have fun with it. So, I want to talk just a little bit about our guest. You probably know her already. We have Marilynn Hughes with us, and she's returning to broadcast Team Alpha. I think we had her on a couple of times before, but now oh, she has written 109 books. Wow. She's she's making books like bakers are putting out donuts. It's just 109 books. It's hard to fathom. But she is also the founder of the Out of Body Travel Foundation. And she's written for 40 different magazines. And she's done a bunch of CDs on out of body travel and religious concepts and mysticisms. And she also's got a lot of art that she has done. And listen to this. This stuff is free on her website. Now, if you want to have the book, which I highly recommend that you do, so you can put it on the shelf and read it again and learn from it and make it a workbook, you can also buy it. But it's free. Think about that. That is phenomenal. I haven't heard anybody else do that. And and also you will find one book there that I got into a little bit because this is something that is close to people's heart. A lot of people want to do this, and the title of the book is How to Have an Out of Body Experience. And being in astral travel, I know that if you do this, your world will change because many things will happen to your perception of reality. It will never be the same. And you will learn things out there that is phenomenal. And we're going to talk about that tonight. It's also, she, she worked with James von Prague and astronaut Edgar Mitchell on the Foundation for Extraordinary Experiences. She is also a guest on pretty much all of the big shows out there, coast to coast and so on. And I, when I got her the bio, there's so much to read that I couldn't do much because then there was only be about 10 minutes left for her to talk if I did. So here, welcome to the show, Marilynn.
Thank you, Aage.
Yeah, gosh, it's good to see you again.
It's great to see you, Aage.
Yeah, this is going to be so much fun. I I have followed a little bit about what you do, and I can't get over this. 109 books. That is, yeah. How did I know the information is out there, but for the ones that don't know, how did this come about for you where you went on this path instead of staying in the business world and doing other things like family and so on? Why this for you?
Well, um, it came about, you know, it's funny how, life takes its turns, for all of us. And when I was in my young years, I was working in journalism actually. I started out as a DJ, and then I moved into radio news, and I was a reporter and then a news anchor, and I was doing that sort of thing. And shortly after my daughter was born, I started having spontaneous out of body experiences. And I did have one really profound experience at the age of 9 that kind of foreshadowed this journey. But what really ended up happening then was, at the age of 22, I started having these experiences and I started journaling them. Um, not really having a plan in my head or anything, you know what I mean? But I started journaling them, um and I realized that there was a pattern unfolding. And so within 2 years, um that journal formed a book. And within a couple more years, I started seeing that these this was going to become this would be able to become like this would be a whole series of books, because it was I was seeing that this was a this was not just a random phenomenon. This was a pathway, a spiritual pathway. And so, I ended up being published very young, around the age of 26 or 27. And I was published in part because I already had all this material from all these thousands of experiences I was having that showed this spiritual pathway to come. And so I literally kind of fell into it, It was like I was a reporter and I became a reporter on the other side instead, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it kind of came easy. I just started reporting on some other events instead. Um, and then it just fell into, everything kind of fell into place. So, so the first book came out, the second book came out a year later. Um, and it would be one thing after another.
Mm.
And so I did the Joan Rivers show, and then I met Raymond Moody and George Ritchie and Daniel Brinkley there. And then, within a few years, my publisher had said something to me about, wow, you really have a niche. You really have a unique niche. You know, you might want to consider starting your own publishing company. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, and it was then, a few years later, with the onset of on-demand publishing, that I was like, yeah, you know what? Maybe I will. You know what I mean? And then it was ironically in 2003, after I had a near-death experience, and I had this beautiful, profound experience with Jesus Christ, and I was shown a whole bunch of things about all these books that I was going to write, and the Out of Body Travel Foundation was born. And then it would be all these things, before the foundation was born. It was all this music that I would hear and see in the mystical. I would be writing it down and recording it in my garage. So all these things, I was just doing them. You know what I mean? I would do them one at a time. So all the little building blocks would fall into place. I would paint the things that I would see. So these paintings, I would just paint them as I would see them and put them in a closet and store them. And then And then I would be shown what to do with these things later, maybe 5, 10 years later. You know what I mean? So, because it's 40 years later now. I'm going to be 60 in a month, and so it's a long time ago where this started. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah. When you
it's a
had
lot.
your, yeah, let me ask you this. When you had your, let's say, the first experiences, got out of the body, what did you see? Did it just totally blow your mind away and wondered, God, did I die or what's going on? What is your
It's
experience
so
after?
interesting to me that so many people are interested in that first experience, and yes, in the first experience, you do wonder, did I die? And you are afraid because you're like, oh man, I might have died. Oops. And I was
Yeah,
very young. I was 22. And so you're afraid, can I get back to my body? And then you do shoot back to your body and all those things, and that extreme vibration, and all the weird things that happen because you see different, you feel different, you move different, all those things. But one of the things that I think is interesting is that people are not as curious as they should be about all the things that you've seen since, because there's
yeah.
this entire cosmos. I've had thousands and thousands of experiences since,
Mm,
and there's this entire cosmos out there, this
yeah,
amazing mystical panorama of worlds. And we don't realize it for the most part. For the
yeah,
most part, we are oblivious to this amazing, these worlds. And there are so many different mystical beings, so many different levels of vibration that exist beyond us, that impact our lives on a daily basis, and that have the capacity to alter and change the course of our lives here, and that we can tap into, that can impact um, the course of our own path to, ironically, the ascension from this realm. You know what I'm saying? and
mhm,
and but we're many of us are not aware of that. And I think that a lot of what the purpose of my work was and is and remains and will remain when I'm long gone is reminding people of where we came from and where we will go, because we're here for a blink of an eye, and then
yeah,
we go back to the worlds beyond, the worlds where God reigns, and we have to become one with all being and all existence again. And if we can remind ourselves of that, then we can accelerate our spiritual growth here, that that offers us the opportunity to possibly attain to some of the things that we came here to
yeah,
accomplish, some of which is related to the ascension of our soul.
yeah,
And
and
beyond, because the ascension is one attainment. It's one attainment of many, many more that we can achieve here,
yeah.
before we ever cross over.
Now there's a question hidden in here that I didn't think of before, but you said come here to do. How would we find out what am I supposed to do? What is my mission? Why am I here? Is there something I should do that I don't remember? How do people find out?
Well, the first thing we start with is what we're all here to do, which is to love one another as
Yep.
I have loved you. And the second is to know that if we are incarnate here, it means that we have purification to undergo, because we come here because we have unpurified karma, unpurified things that are within our soul. So that means there is there's darkness within us that we don't realize. So, and
Mhm.
people get uncomfortable with that whole terminology, And what that means is that there's shadow, there's darkness, there's things within us, because we live in the mortal realms. The mortal realms are the realms where we have both good and evil within us, both darkness and light. And we are here to purify whatever remains of the darkness into light so that we actually can reach towards the ascension, which is all light. And we can pass beyond this realm into the realms of light and life and move to the next level of evolution. And
Yeah.
so the one thing you can start with is that if you are incarnate here, you have purification to undergo. And then the third thing is, are there specific, elements like perchance, do I have a particular calling? Like, was I called to fly airplanes? Was I called to, be a medical person or a doctor? Was I called to be a radio host like Aage, and those are particular callings. And those are the things like was I called to write these books? And those are the things that we feel in the depths of our soul that we are drawn to. And we can figure those out in a variety of ways.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's the direct ways where we're taken, to the Akashic records and we're shown things. We're shown things in the out of body travel state. We're told things by our spiritual guides. They say, I've had a lot of experience where they've told me, you're supposed to write those books. Get over there and do that, But
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
also that instinct, that intense drive that we have that tells us this is what I must do. And we often know it without having to be shown or told in some kind of way like that. And I think that people need to give that some credibility and more credibility at times,
Yeah.
because that is also the Holy Spirit guiding them towards that third level of what is their call, you know
Yeah. And chances are that when we come here, we're going to end up doing some of those things that we were intended to do and won't even know it. Even the
right.
guy that comes here and totally believe that the one who dies with the most toys, he wins. There may be there may be a purpose in that also, just to gain the experience. So there is enlightenment in everything. Maybe there is something in that concept that, well, I don't know. I don't may not understand. So
Well,
you,
you may, and you may also find that that person, because one of the things that is my calling is that I help souls cross over. And a lot of souls who do have that philosophy, when they cross over, or they are taken, I help them when they're taken to the various lower realms or whatever. And they experience the disappointment of those decisions and the realization of the wasted time and the wasted life. And sometimes they are taken to opportunities to either reincarnate or to make a new decision, and sometimes they are obstinate in those decisions and they go into places that none of us would like to go. And so there is a reality here of we are making decisions of an eternal nature because we go where we're compatible. That is just a
yeah.
simple eternal law. We just naturally, it's like a magnet. We are drawn to that which we are. And
Mhm.
that is what happens.
Yeah, and now the outer body travel association. You talk about astral travel, and also is it conscious travel or out of body travel? There is a difference between those two, but what do you see that difference being?
Well, well, and why don't you tell me what you see that difference being?
Well,
We'll
the
talk about
astral,
it.
what I'm my impression is that the astral body leaves the physical body, but it is still connected to the physical body. If you travel by consciousness, there is no limitation to distance, and they are not necessarily connected physically or energetically through the silvery cord to the physical body.
Okay, and so that's just a matter of terms, I would say. So, like the
Yeah,
way that I would describe it is when someone, if you going by just terms, when people talk about astral travel, I remind them that astral is a realm, and the astral realm itself is not it's the fourth realm, and the astral realm is an overlapping realm of the third, and it is a mortal realm, and it contains the elements of both good and evil, and it's not the most desirable place to hang out. And
that's
if you're
right.
doing primarily out of body travel, that consists of being able to travel in the astral realm, but also beyond the astral realm into this entire cosmology of the mystical worlds. And so there is quite a difference in that, because that's talking about traveling into the infinite spheres of existence, which is very different. So I think we're
Yeah.
saying the same thing. So yes, just different terminology. Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I expected to hear actually, because I call it consciousness travel, and there are the names for it, but that, first of all, have no limitations to distance, but also I wonder how far up in the vibrations can you get? If you get beyond the sixth into the seven, it just kind of fades out into light for me. I don't. How far up the ladder do you feel that you have been?
Well, it's hard to say. I know that I've been into the 23rd dimension of the golden angels. I've gone into the tachyon fields, which is amazing. Um, I don't really worry about quantifying where it is. There's a
Mhm.
constant there's a constant energizing to take you into higher and higher vibration. And then there's also a constant tempering to keep you in a peaceful vibration and keep you steady. So
Yeah,
there's not like a focus on uh, you know, what is the number of where you are or anything. It's just a
yeah,
matter of where do you need to go to accomplish this particular task, and let's make sure you're compatible to get there, And so um
that could
the
make sense.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So there's not a lot of emphasis placed on that in the mystical spheres.
yeah. What are some of the most interesting things that you have seen outside of the physical body?
Oh, that's such a wide open question.
Yeah,
Got a good one. Got a good
it's
one.
all yours.
Well, since we titled this The Angel of Ascension, I think I'll share with you the experience I had, and hopefully you don't mind. I'll go ahead and use this. I actually um, kind of I went ahead and printed up an experience I had with the Angel of the Ascension. Is that all right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an oldie but a goodie, and then I can tell you more of some of the others, but um, the gallery was inlaid with gold, and the stairs were of marble. Huge paintings on the wall depicted God's most beautiful creations. Three entities approached, wearing black hooded robes, their faces the image of skeletons, and their hands white bones. Surrounding me on each side and to my back, I recognized them as the angels of death. "Who are you here for?" I asked, thinking that meeting one angel of death would be quite significant, but three?
Yeah.
"We are here for you," they thought simultaneously. But another comes. Another? I thought, approaching with eminence in his mysterious form. His robes were as white as snow, but they could not overshadow the faceless being who exuded light but no features. "I am the angel of ascension," he conveyed. Bowing lightly, I looked deeply into his faceless being, image. "Clearly, you must know," he thought. that ascension is reality for you now. You must translate the book of the eights, finish the book of the eights. Confused by his command, I didn't know what he meant at the time. Of course, I later did do that. When this is complete, he thought, you may choose to stay or go from this realm at any time. Raising his invisible arm to the sky, he pointed directly at my heart, sending light through it. My astral form began to disintegrate until I was only a skeleton. Then my bones turned into dust, and in moments I became only white light. Quietly, he turned and walked away with the three angels of death. Watching the angel of ascension soar upwards, he became particle energy and dissipated into a thought within the mind of God. But that was one of them.
Yeah. Wow. Now, being in the presence of an angelic being like that is an incredible experience.
Yes.
Can you try to explain? It's going to be a tough one using words, but explain what kind of experience that would be for someone that would learn to get out of the body and meet those people, those angelic beings.
There is a great humbling that you experience. And, like I've had experiences like with the Lord, where literally when you come into his presence, you, through no action of your own, are thrown on your face in a prostrate position. And you are so humbled, um, and so in awe and holy awe and surrender. And you literally sometimes have uncontrollable tears. Um, and just,
That's the yeah. That's the sign
yeah,
of their presence.
yes, yes. And I mean, just 2 nights ago, I had a beautiful experience with I'll share this with you, where um one of my grandmothers came and brought me a lamp, an oil lamp, and it was, how in the biblical sense there's the lamp of the 10 virgins, the wise virgins, to be prepared for the bridegroom. You want to have your big oil lamp and have it and be prepared to receive the bridegroom at any time. Are you familiar with that?
I know of it, but I don't know much.
Well, the scripture states that there's the parable of, and it's in Matthew, I believe it's Matthew 25, or Matthew, I think it's Matthew. It's Matthew, but I think it's 25. Um, where it's the wise virgins have their lamp, and they always have enough oil in the lamp, because we know not when the Lord will come to take us, meaning death, when death comes to take us. The wise virgins have enough oil in their lamps at all times, because, and the oil represents our faith and our in our good works, and our, that we're always filling our lamps with our faith and our devotion and our good
Yeah.
works and our love for the Lord. And my grandmother was giving me this lamp, and there was some intrusionary force trying to come in and disrupt this process. And Our Lady of Fatima immediately appeared and blocked the door. And she was like 10 feet tall and would not let this
Mm.
this this force enter or disturb this holy moment. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. It was so amazing. And she was just huge. And the light that came from her was so astounding. And this lamp that my grandma was like this big, you know. Let's talk about, overkill on trying to make
Yeah.
sure I had a good sized lamp. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Well, and then there are people out there that wonder too, where can I go and is it safe? Well, first of all, yeah. Have you been to the moon or any places like that or in the solar
oh, yeah,
system?
I've
That
been
is,
to the moon. I've been to many. Went to Saturn. I've been to Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, Venus. Been to a lot of those, and I've been to other galaxies and other systems, and I've been to, gosh, Arcturus. I've been to, what was that other one? Um, I'm not going to remember them all off the top of my head.
yeah,
But I've had a lot of experiences in other in planetary type things, and I've had a lot of extraterrestrial experiences, but I've also had a lot of experiences in heaven with extraterrestrials, because in heaven there are the souls of both humans and extraterrestrials, so they're there too. You know what
yeah.
I mean? And so
Hmm.
I've had experiences there. um, there's a particular band of uh, souls called the Assisi Marauders on the planet Venus that I had an affinity with, and they would ride white winged horses. They wore these black garments and they had black capes, and there were five of them, and they were a band of these spiritual guides that were connected to me, and I would see them very frequently. And so I would go to Venus, and there was this small spiritual community on Venus, and they had an older gentleman. They would all wear white robes, and then there was an older gentleman who was their spiritual master who would teach them there. And so, there's all these communities all over in the
Yeah,
mystical spheres that are of all sorts of natures. So you'll find, there'll be Christian communities that are sort of Christian based, and then there'll be Buddhist things, and there'll be, you know, oh my gosh, I've had these beautiful experiences like with
yeah,
Sikhs and Sufis. My you'll find that in my work, I synthesize work from and quotations and stuff from all the world religions, because that was one of the callings that I had, was to unite them all. And in my experiences, I've been taken to see all these holy things about all of them
yeah,
in this world and in the other worlds. And I've met the prophets, saints, mystics, sages, and sages and ascetics, and from all of them,
yeah,
and the tribal religions, and so there's all kinds of amazing things. One
yeah.
of the okay.
That that's something that I've seen too. That whatever experience and knowledge that you have when you drop the body, that moves with you.
Yes.
That beliefs in religion move with you until when you get there and find out, no, maybe not all of what I was taught was actually true. There's other things that can impact what I've learned, and then you get a re-education. But on
Yeah.
the other hand, too, that there are learning experience. Just because you drop the body, you don't stop learning in between. You
Right.
learn, you learn more. And a lot of people say when there are people out there running around the world say when you drop the body or you're dead, you that's it, boy. There's nothing left. Well, yeah, there is. And my experience out in the astral world, most, well, not most, but a lot of the entities I run into are the confused ones in the astral world, the lower vibrations. They they died, but they were atheists. They had no clue what's going on, so they don't know. They're walking around. When they go back, they find out. "Well, I wonder why nobody talks to me." But they they're lost. So I haven't done a lot of this, but you can actually try to educate them and say, hey, there is this thing called the light. Try to find it. Or
Yeah.
Oh, here's this is a good one. I've got to spend 30 seconds saying this. There's a there is a spiritual telephone. And that is, you drop the body, you're out there, you're kind of in limbo maybe, but you can call somebody. That telephone is think and visualize your mom, let's say, or your dad, if they are already passed over, and tell them, I am here, come and get me. Very likely they will get that message and they could come and say, hey, come on, son, you're graduated now, let's go. They could get that message, and I've seen that happen.
That's cool.
So they learn a lot. I had I know some people would say, is it dangerous getting out there? What would you say to that?
Um, I think that what I have to tell people is that there are people that shouldn't do it, and that's the people who have had problems with spiritual warfare, exorcism, problems who, have any kind of issues with stuff like that. They should stay away from anything like that. So there are some people who shouldn't.
Yeah,
People who are ultra sensitive to things like that. For the most part, the majority of people, it's there is the dark side, and most of the people eventually come to people like me, and we talk about the spiritual warfare issues that you deal with on the other side. You are going to run into that, but these are it's we're not it's like you live in the mortal realm. You do have good and evil here, and you have to be aware of it. You have to deal with it when you live in the real world. It's the same thing. You have to be aware of it and deal with it in the spiritual world as well. And so, you want to be open to being educated about it. And my books
yeah,
teach all that stuff. And I'm sure
yeah,
there's other people who do too. I'm sure they're out
yeah,
there because I read ancient text. So there's resources to help you with that. Um, but if you're someone who's had issues like with spiritual warfare and exorcism, then stay away. You
yeah,
know. Um, Other than that, I don't I don't see it as a problem.
yeah.
But if you have a priest or someone telling you you shouldn't be doing this because of whatever your propensities, then trust your own spiritual advisor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think too that when people start practicing for this, learn about it before you go there because it's a new
Yes.
environment. There's
Yeah.
new entities, and in
Yeah.
fact, entities are one thing, but there's things out there. The things
Yeah.
have never had a physical body. And
Yeah.
you need to know about this, otherwise, it could be scary. That could
Yes.
imprint a mental block or mental scar of some type that you bring home with you. And now it unfolds in the physical, and you don't want that. Get a hold of her book before you start doing this and learn the environment. Then you
Hmm.
can with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would think
I
so
think that's a good idea. Yeah.
because it's different. And you're gonna find out too that you don't walk anymore. Yeah, kind of float through, and it's not necessary to. It's not even necessary to turn the doorknob. It's just float right. uh, I You mentioned something when we talked. I see. I no, I saw it in your writing about the shiny ones and the angelic beings. They're here, but we don't see them unless they want us to see them.
Yeah.
And they have a long history, don't they?
Hmm. Yes.
Have you run into those?
Yes. Yes. I mean, I remember this one beautiful experience I had. I mean, I say one, but I had it many times when I remember when I was undergoing a lot of spiritual warfare, and I woke up and I saw this line of these amazing, beautiful, lighted angels that were like 10 feet high that were just lined up all the way around the perimeter of my home and around the yard guarding. And they just wanted me to know that I wasn't alone, that they were fighting for me. And I saw that many times. And there were other times when I was shown the archangels doing exactly the same thing. And man, when you see
Uh,
the archangels standing there, standing there braced to fight for you, you're like, what? Really? For me? What? you know? And,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
I've seen some
amazing.
amazing, amazing things with the angels and, the archangels, when you see them, they're usually like 40 feet tall. They're just amazing. They're something.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, when you, I would talk to the listeners for a second, and that is when you hear stories like this. I know enough to know these stories are real. You really can do this. It's not, it is very simple. I didn't say easy. It's simple because you may have to practice a little bit. There are several different methods of learning how to get out of the body. You know, you can roll out of bed, you have a rope method. There are different things they talk about. You can find one that resonates with you, and you really can do this. Just practice and practice. We don't know how long it will take. It could, some people catch on to this like ducks to water. You never seen a duck drown, have you? No. It's just, it can be pretty simple. Other people may have to do it every night or every day for a month or two. I was one of the slow ones. It took me quite a while. But you, once you're out there, that other world open up, and you're gonna come back, and you're gonna want to read more of her books because they will explain all the questions you have when you come back. And now I'm talking way too much. I want to comment on what I just said.
Well, another experience that I had that I'm thinking about a lot in part because just the other day, 2 days ago, I had the exquisite honor of going and being blessed by one of the bloody gloves of Saint Padre Pio here because we have one of them here at our local church, which is a huge honor. Who is was a stigmatist. He had the wounds of Christ,
Oh,
and years ago, I had this uh, beautiful vision. I've had a lot of visions with Saint Padre Pio in it for many years, and over the years I've seen a lot of the saints, and they'll come and they'll guide me and tell me many things and tell me things I need to know and correct me and show me where I'm lacking and what purification. Remember we started out purification. That's why we're here. Um, but I had the honor of having myself and this beautiful rosary that someone made for me, a Padre Pio rosary, blessed by the bloody glove of Padre Pio. And years ago, I had this beautiful experience where Padre Pio, in total silence, he came to me with two other priests and he took me up and we went from earth into the sky, into the galactic heavens. And he showed me the mystical significance of the Holy Mass in 54 steps. And he showed me how, between the time the priest begins and the entire process of the consecration, 54 steps of vibration and frequency. And we went through it, and he never spoke a word. It was all vibration and frequency, 54 steps. And I took every step with him. And every step you could feel it, experience it. It was so profound, it was so deep. And then the 54th step, we were in a cavern in the galactic heavens, up in the stars. And then Padre Pio brought the sacred host to life in the starry heavens, and it floated in the sky. And I got to watch that and be present for it. And it was so astonishing. And I was so honored. I never looked at the Holy Mass the same after that. It was just so unbelievable. And
Yeah.
so I was so unworthy to see that.
Mm.
And, something, so many of these things too that, for the listeners to think about. There are so many things that um, the Lord has for us to learn that are not words. They come to us in vibration and frequency. They come to us in something that we see or we hear in the mystical spheres in these out of body travel states. Out of body travel is a tool for transformation. And these are the kinds of reasons why. It's because there are things that we cannot experience or understand or know in any other way.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Because
what happens?
words cannot explain it.
Exactly. And going back to the idea of purification, just to give you an idea of why it's so simple. Out of body travel provides us with a real quick, simple path to purification, because what happens is we become receptive then, and we have a path now to receive instruction. And we receive not only instruction, so think about this. We all have these bad habits. We have these things that we do over and over again. We do stuff and we do it for years and years and years, and we don't see it. We just do it.
Yeah.
But what happens with out of body travel is we get instructed, we're told what we need to do, but then we are taken into it energetically so that we understand it and know why we know it. And all of a sudden, there's an instantaneous understanding and the potential for an instantaneous transformative change.
Mm.
And so, something that we might have wasted 20 years on, we might alter in a month,
Yeah.
a week. And so that's why out of body travel is such a powerful tool for purification and for the very purpose of why we come to earth, which is to purify the darkened elements, the shadow elements that remain in our soul. And a lot of times they're habitual elements that remain in our soul that we hold on to from previous lifetimes, things that we will just do and not have any clue that we're doing them, and it's holding us back from moving closer to union with God, which is the purpose of every soul's existence. And that's what we're trying to do. And that's why it's so valuable.
Yeah.
So I hope that's helpful, because it really is important for people to realize that's why. It's because when you have that ability to be pulled into the energetic truth of what you are doing, and you feel it, know it, understand it, then you are much more likely to be able to change it instead of holding on to it, doing it for another 20, 30 years, maybe taking it into another lifetime, and
Yeah.
just continuing to transmigrate, you know,
And,
just do
God
it some
forbid
more.
coming back and doing it over again too.
Exactly. But that's
Nah.
why. And so it's
Yeah.
very powerful. It's so powerful. It's like the laser scope on a surgeon's robotic tool in surgery. It's going right after the heart of the matter, the heart of the problem, right for the problem and fixing it, pulling out the cancer in your thinking, or the little dark cancerous thing
Yeah.
in your point of view or your worldview or whatever it might be, you know. And
Oh, we're getting down towards the end here, but there's one question I've been saving it, and that is, when you're out there in the higher realms, you have access to past, present, and future. Now, there are a lot of people out there right now is worried about, oh no, World War III and all kinds of nasty stuff that, fear sells. Have you seen anything of the future that can give people hope?
well, ironically, I think that the reality of the potential of World War III, unfortunately, has been made a lot more real than any of us would like to deal with.
Yeah,
That and so I'm not going to be dishonest about that. But I do think that there have been some elements that have been shifting, which are showing some hopeful possibilities.
mhm,
And so, what we all need to do is pray a lot for our world leaders to make good decisions that are unitive and are peace, towards peace and towards making decisions that uh, are restorative, you know, and
yeah,
bringing people back to um, the value of uh, bringing people together and making things work and having we need to have more of the willingness to come together and compromise. Uh, a lot of what we've been seeing has been a big willingness to go to war, and there has been a huge in the mystical. I'm going to be really blunt. In the mystical, there has been a flood of evil, a
yeah,
flood of evil that was so unbelievable. And we have to stop that flood. And we have to pray. And we have to pray and we have to pray that those who have the power to make such decisions will do the things that bring about reconciliation and peace, and
yeah,
that they are willing to make compromises and make decisions, even if they don't all get everything they want. We have to come back to uh, a willingness to be reasonable, as stupid
yeah,
as that sounds.
yeah, yeah. And I think that when it comes to politicians, most of them are on the take one way or the other and corrupt to the core. But I think there's an incentive now to start doing the right thing because corruption is being exposed and they don't want to
Yes.
have that happen.
And
So,
we have to remember this is a battle between principalities and powers. So
yeah,
we have to empower our principalities and powers, because our principalities and powers are also fighting out there.
yep,
The
absolutely.
principalities
Because,
and powers of good are also out there. And so we need to not forget that. So yes, that is true. That is very true. But we empower that with our prayers. And there has been a pushback against that water of evil. And so let's continue what we've done and see if we can push it further back, because what we've seen here shows that the will of the people can have an impact even that way. And I've seen it in the mystical realm where it went from, like, it seemed like it was overwhelming and undeniably couldn't be fought. And the will of the people changed it. Let's change it some more.
Absolute. Yep. That's our job to do. And when we've been talking about getting out of the physical body, going to all these different locations and
Mhm.
different levels of existence, remember there was a guy about just about 1988 years ago. He said, "In my father's house, there is many rooms."
Yes.
Remember him?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's even scriptural. All
Yes.
these things are here, but gosh, we're down to the end here. Let people know where they can get a hold of you and get you read your books, and you got the
You
floor.
can you can find me at outofbodytravel.org. That's our main website. Our archive site is outofbodytravel.wordpress.com. And you can email me at Marilynn Hughes at outofbodytravel.org.
Okay, good deal. And those of you that is listening and watching this, go over there and check it out. There is got to be at least one book over there. When you get it, it'll make your life better. And yes, gosh, we are. There is so much more to talk about. Could I talk you into coming back sometime later?
Of course, I'd love to.
Or, oh, that'd be wonderful. That'd be wonderful. Okay, then. So now, and if you like what you heard, please subscribe. That will help us a lot. And then, until next time, be good.